Hey guys, Tammy here. And in this video, I'm going to talk about 3 steps to get your kids to spend more time with you. Okay. This is normally a factor for the non custodial parent, obviously more than the custodial parent. And this is usually more of a problem for the person that vacated the family home. Okay. Now, that tends to be dad, not always. I'm not trying to stereotype or anything like that, but typically, more often than not, it's dad that has vacated the family home and that is struggling to get the kids to spend more time with him. But sometimes moms too. I have several moms that I work with who are the ones that do not have the majority of the parenting time. So this can go both ways. Before we dive into it, let me just ask you to please hit like on this video if you like the content, and also subscribe to the channel so that you get notified as new videos are released. And as always, please share on social media to help me reach people that really need the help. So what can you do when you have children who just don't want to go with you? I think, one of the big mistakes that I see people make, especially dads, is they go, oh, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait until things calm down. The children will calm down. The wife will calm down. Everything will get easier. I don't find that's true, actually. I find that usually works against you. That usually causes you to establish what we call an unfavorable status quo, where you've established this pattern of you not seeing the children very much. And that doesn't look good usually when you go into court. Waiting is not usually a good strategy. And most of the time, children aren't going to change their mind. They're going to get comfortable in not seeing you. They're going to get adapted to not spending that time. And it's actually usually harder after the fact to get them to come to your new place and spend time with you. So what are the things that we can do? And, I could probably come up with 10 things that you can do, but let me just start with 3. Okay. I'm going to try to give you 3 in this video. I obviously can't give you the whole thing. The video would go on for hours. Okay. So I'm going to try to give you my 3 best quick tips. Step 1, what you want to do is think about what was the environment at home. Okay. And you want to try to replicate that as much as possible. Now, I know that a lot of times the family home is a much bigger, probably more, I don't know, I hesitate to use the word luxurious, but, bigger, more established, nicer, usually, environment than if you've had to go to an apartment or an Airbnb or a studio or whatever your situation is. I know that you can't always exactly replicate. You may be in a position where you can't afford to give the children their own room in your place like they have at home or whatever. But we can look at what are the typical things that they have in their home environment. Okay. So for like my kids, when they were young, they both had TVs in their room. They both had video game consoles. I was trying to think of the word consoles in their room. Thomas's kids, we didn't do that. We learned from that error. But at the time, the technology wasn't quite as all consuming when my kids were young as it is now and as it has been with Thomas's children. But anyway, we had TV and video games. I remember saying this to my ex-husband after he moved out, where I said, look, get a video game console, get, a TV. And he's like, I'm not going to get all that. They don't come anyway. Well, okay, but they don't come because you don't have any of that. And that's what they want to do. And that's all they do at my house. It's not like they come in and sit down and have this big old 3-hour conversation and dinner with me. They don't. They come in, they want to eat. I have dinner made. They want to eat. They want to shower, and they want to go to their room and play their video game usually, or do homework or whatever else there is. You want to think about like, what's been the typical functioning of your household prior to moving out? What are the things that the children engage in? If every night you sit down and read books with your kids, but then your kids come over and there's no books in the house, well, that's going to be problematic, isn't it? Because that's what they're used to. Or if every afternoon at 3, they have a play date with the neighbor, but you move to a place that's like 10 miles away, that's a problem, isn't it? So you want to think about, and that kind of leads me to my second point, which is live as close to the children as you can. That's one of the things, to the family home, I should say, as you can. That allows the children to continue to have access to their friends that are nearby. They have access to the school, if they live near the school, all the activities usually tend to happen around the family home. And so you don't want to go and move a long, long way from there. Now, again, I know in practicality, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to afford. I know that's an issue here in California. But honestly, I've seen dads that go and they say, well, I've been driving an hour one way to work. And so I'm going to move an hour away and live closer to work. So I at least don't have that commute. And then I'm going to drive to pick up or see the children. That's having your priorities backwards. If you want time with your children and you want them to want to spend time with you, you need to stay immersed in their world and what's going on in that world. And that means living in the community, in the environment, to the extent that you can possibly make that happen. Again, replicating things in your world that were in the family home. The other thing that you can do is you can kind of engage them if you are lucky enough to be able to get your own place and have bedrooms set up for them and whatever, similar to what was at the family home. One of the things that I find that you can really engage kids in is getting excited about decorating that space for themselves, having the ability to paint the walls or, pick the wallpaper or get a new bedroom suit or whatever it is, and actually engage them in the process of choosing those things. Even very young children will get excited and engage in choosing that kind of thing. Try to replicate the environment at home as much as you can, to the extent that you agree with it. If you had a video game console in the room at home and you don't agree with that and you don't want to do that in your home, don't do it. But then find an alternative to that. Find another way to engage with the child that doesn't involve the video game unit. But replicate the home as much as you can. Stay in the community. Stay close to the extent that you can. And then the third one is, in fact, to engage with the child, right? Children want attention. I don't care how old they are, even 16-year-olds who act like they don't want anything to do with you. What they want is your attention. I used to go to every single basketball game that my children had. You can ask either one of them. I missed one game throughout the entire 8-year high school span of games for the two of them. They were exactly 4 years apart. So I had 4 years of my oldest son, 4 years of my youngest son. And I think I missed one game of my oldest son's. And I believe it was for a date with Thomas, if I remember right. I believe that's why. There were so many games that week. That was the only way that we could make it happen. So anyway, I went to all of those games. And so that's not necessarily sitting down one-on-one and having conversations or paying some sort of specific attention, but showing up in the child's life and the child knowing that I'm there and that I'm committed and that I'm here to support you in whatever that is. And like I said, if that means sitting down and reading a book every night before bed, that's one of the things that Thomas did with his kids. And honestly, he didn't stop doing that until they were about 14 years old. They asked for it until they were quite a bit older. So there are lots of things that you can do to engage with them. If you just have them come over and then they sit in their room and you're not actually interacting in anything they care about, that's not going to be real successful. You can't only engage them in things you care about, So if you like to watch football or you like to go ride a bike or you like to whatever, but your kid's not into it, well, then that's not really going to help you. Some of those things the kid can do with you, but you also need to consider what's the kid into. Thomas's kids were into skateboarding for a while. And so he would take them down to the skate park and he would just sit and watch. He'd let them skate and he would sit and watch and let them do that for a couple hours to get some exercise. So meeting them where they're at and really engaging with them on the things that they like to do. Okay. So step 1, replicate the family home. Step 2, stay as close in the community as you can. And step 3, engage with your child. Those 3 things alone will go a long way. If you'd like more tips on this or other issues in your custody case, you can go to divorceuniversityonline.com/VIP-coaching. There's a link on that page where you can book a free consultation with a member of my staff so that you can learn more about my services and how I might be able to support you on this journey. See you guys next time.